Welcome to A Financial Advisor and Pastor Walk into a Bar, Guatemala 2025. In this episode, Pastor Jason and financial advisor Benjie take a break from Revelation to talk about Jason's recent mission trip to Guatemala. Let's listen in.
All right, so we'll go and start off with the trip. You said you got back last night?
We got back, yeah. We left Guatemala, so they're an hour, I guess what would that be, an hour in front of? Because if it's 4 o'clock our time, it's 3 p.m. their time.
Yes, I remember and looking on the map, they're more east than we are, which is weird, but it's because of the daylight savings. They don't have that.
Oh,
yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that.
That's what I remember last year when I went to El Salvador.
Ooh, okay.
I called up the home and they were ahead by an hour, and I said, oh, okay, you're on Eastern time. Then I looked at the map and I thought, we're more east than Dallas is, which is weird to think about.
Yeah.
But it all has to do with the daylight savings time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hadn't even considered that. I just figured since they were an hour, they were more in line with mountain time.
Yeah.
Because technically, for us, our consideration, it'd be mountain time. But now that I think about it, you're right on the map. Okay. All right, I stay. Yeah, very cool. So So we left there officially at about 11:45, 12 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
12 p.m., 11:45 a.m., 12 p.m. And then, of course, flying. By the time you do the time change, we landed right at about 4:30ish or so.
Okay.
And of course, going through customs and then getting back home. We got home about 6:30, so it was kind of cool. So my family, my in-laws were over, just waiting on us to get back because I had my 2 oldest boys with me as well, Caden and Tucker, 17 and 15 respectively. But it was really, really neat. So we're driving home, and while we're driving home, we see our daughter in the yard, our 11-year-old. She's standing in the yard, and of course my wife and my in-laws are in the yard as well. And so my younger son, Tucker, he's like, hey, just keep driving. So we drive by and my daughter starts squealing. So then I reverse and I back into the driveway. But that guy, he's too much like his father, unfortunately. Just always wanting to have a little fun and give everybody else a hard time. So.
And when you said Blessing is 11, I think the last time, I just remember her as like 4.
Yeah.
I think 4 or 5.
Yep.
So that's kind of weird to think of that, how time has flown by.
Yes.
Because Diego's graduated, he's leaving for college in...
When does he leave exactly? 2
weeks, I think.
Already?
2 or 3 weeks, yeah.
Holy, 1st of August.
Yeah, he's gone.
Holy cow.
Yeah, we're going closer to the middle, like August 11th, so we're about, we're less than a month away.
Yeah.
And, I don't think about it, and then when I look at the calendar, it's just like, oh man, you're gonna be gone.
Yep.
In a while. And so we started trying to do, we started a discipleship program called Every Man a Warrior.
Yep.
And I did this with men 3 times. Okay. I started as a learner and then I led it 2 times. And it's a good program. And I thought this would be a good way to try to stay connected with Diego while he's over there in college. It was a little hard to get his start up here because he's so busy. I say that sarcastically because he's got nothing going on other than work now. But to think about what is it going to be like when he's there, right?
Yeah.
We said Sunday night, let's try to do it then, which hopefully it will work out, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what goes on with college, because I remember before West Point, I went to Emerson College for a year in Boston.
Okay. Yep.
So I was a real freshman, real college freshman, and I know that my time was everywhere.
Yep.
And nowhere at the same time. So sometimes it would be nice to go. I would have time to go and have time with my mom or dad on the phone. But most of the time, I'm not interested in that conversation. So
I was right there with you.
We'll see what happens with that.
Yep.
But so Guatemala. Last year, this time, I was over at El Salvador. You were in Guatemala.
Yep.
And we were talking about money at the same time. I think one of the topics that we had was why is it that I guess we don't have as much joy as the people that are outside the U.S. And I was contemplating this idea: do I need to leave to experience it?
Yep.
And I think you made the comment. Yeah, you were talking about how there's less things. They're not living a comparative life.
Yeah.
I think, and so the desires of this world and chasing after money isn't as prevalent as it is here. It's kind of the underlying statement that I got of it. But this is the second time in how many times have you been to Guatemala?
This is my second time.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically right at a year apart now.
Okay. So 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So what did you pick up this time around? And you went with your 2 older boys this time.
Yeah. So last year was just Caden,
Okay.
who's now 17. He was 16 at the time, but this year we added our 15-year-old. And man, there was so much happening. One, anytime you go back to some place, there's the familiar faces. There's going back and seeing the family that you built a home for, where, last year we built multiple homes. This year we were able to build 5 homes. And for those who are listening right now who have never been on a mission trip to a Central American or South American country, or to like a third world country, for anyone who hasn't listened to the episode last year, when we talk about a home, for us, our imagination is, everything that we consider in America. But there, a home for them is a very low-level shed. What we would consider to be a shed not even worthy of being in our backyard, that's a home for them. That's their protection from the wind and the rain and the heat. I even think about it, and it reminded me this year, maybe even more impactful, when you're building a home here, you're thinking about making sure, or even a shed, you're wanting to make sure you do everything you can to close up any gaps.
Right.
To keep bugs out, to keep rats out, to protect it from the rain or things of that nature. There, as you're building a structure, you're thinking through, how do we create gaps? How do we, because you've got to have ventilation, because there is no air conditioning. So here, you want to secure or tighten up the house in terms of making sure that cool air doesn't escape or hot air doesn't escape based upon the time of the year. There, you're trying to figure out, how do you create gaps so that the hot air can escape?
Right.
Because for them, there's very little time of the year where they really experience cold temperatures. And so it's always a matter of, we've got to have ventilation. And so even building these sheds is, as you're getting ready to finish a wall towards the roof, you're thinking, okay, wait, we can't finish that.
Yeah.
We got to leave that gap. And it's just it's a different concept. And yet everything within you battles this idea of it's not done.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where, I don't know, I think kind of the thing that hit me was, in the midst of us not finishing the work, there was something about God finishing the work.
Nice.
In a weird spiritual way. It's not that God's going to follow up behind us and be like, all right, I'll apply that sheet of tin now. But there's this idea of, there's only so much we can do. When God calls us to impact another person's life and to speak with them in that moment, or whether it's tilling the ground or planting a seed or harvesting or whatever, there's only so much that He calls us to do.
Yeah.
And His job is to finish the work.
Yeah.
And that kind of just hit me, that God's constantly in the business of finishing the work. And I don't know, I'm not really sure where to go with that, but it was a bit of a revelation for me this year.
It's neat. When you said that, it reminds me of when Jesus went on the cross, and then He says, "It is finished."
Yes,
right?
Yep.
So that's the neat concept to get from. Kind of going with the building materials and whatnot. I know when I was in El Salvador, it seemed like it was engineered wood, and which was different than what they previously had been doing.
Okay.
Which was helpful, because the other stuff I think it was just regular wood, 4x4s and that sort of stuff. So this was sort of like engineered wood reinforced by aluminum, which So it was helpful in terms of the build. I think it was light, but sturdy. And then they had I don't think it was a corrugated metal on the top, but I've seen those out there too. So I think we kind of went last year as an upgrade.
Okay.
In terms of materials, because it looked like a very nice tiny house.
Okay.
But smaller than the tiny house, maybe half the size of a tiny house. Because I think it was maybe 200 square feet.
Man.
Is what the size of it was. And
10 by 20.
Yeah, that makes about sense. Maybe a little less.
Yep.
And then we had bunk beds that were in there for the kids, and a twin or smaller or something like that for the mom that was there. So, did you guys outfit the home? Okay. Oh, I'm looking at a picture of it right now. It looks. Oh, so that's a corrugated metal on the sides and the top.
Yep.
Okay. It's the same size as the one I'm talking about, but you got different materials here.
Yep.
I see. Wow, this is. It reminds me of when I think of Brazil, and you see, the beautiful beach on Copacabana, I think is what it is.
Okay.
And I could be wrong with that. I don't know my geography down there. But then you go up towards the mountainside, and you got all these rusted metal roofs, which is a corrugated roof. And that's the kind of houses the shelters, the houses is that what you built. It's just it's pretty new with the corrugated metal, right?
Yep.
So, is it? And that's it, right? There's no insulation. There's no double wall.
No, there's the only thing we did on this place. So it's roughly the measurements were 10 by 20. So gave us 200 square foot.
Yeah.
And what we did, of course, where the center posts are that are just on the length of the 20, the center post, just to help hold up the roof, we did put a wall in between there.
Yeah.
And so that way it created 2 rooms.
I see.
And
Okay.
so what would happen is, and we put 2 doors, one for each room. And so one room was going to be just their bedroom and general living space.
Yeah.
Because it's a younger couple with one child. And then the other room was going to be their kitchen and dining room area.
Wow, okay.
And so you think about having a full kitchen in a 10 by 10 space. Of course, for us, we think about a full kitchen. We think about, an oven and a microwave, refrigerator, and, the cabinets. And there's none of that.
Yeah.
It is literally maybe like a half of a 55-gallon drum that they use as a stove.
Okay.
And it has some kind of grate on top of it. And then from there, they're going to have a small table in there for their family of 3. Maybe one day 4, 5, 6, however many. But they'll have a small table in there, and then they'll probably adhere a few shelves to the 2x4 or to the 4x4 studs that are in there. They'll probably make a few shelves just to hold stuff.
Yeah.
But no refrigerator. I mean, there's nothing in there that.
There's no running water, right?
They do have access to running water as long as they plumb it in there.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw the house that's next to it, and it's not the same build. So
it's a concrete block construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something too that I noticed when we were in El Salvador last year, was that you've got different structures that show the different levels of demographic.
Yep.
Economic demographic that's there.
Yep.
Where the house that we built was right across this dirt road from this walled off space that was, I don't know, huge.
Yeah.
And what they were telling me was that space was bought by somebody else who was poor, but not as poor as the people across the street.
Yeah.
And then nothing was on the inside of it, on the other side of the wall, because they didn't have any money to go and do anything with it. So they just had a wall, and so they were living on the other side of the wall with nothing. So this picture you're showing me, I got the corrugated metal top.
So this is a totally different location.
Okay.
And this is next to, or literally on top of the church where the church that we were there to work with.
Yeah.
This is just right up the mountain from them.
Okay.
And so when you leave the church, and of course, I don't know what it was like where you were at, but everybody just builds right on top of each other in terms of up the mountain. And so when you leave the church, and instead of going back to the main road, you just climb a little bit further up the mountain, and there's a home right there.
Yeah.
Well, then you pass that home, and you climb up a staircase on the mountain, and there's another home.
Yeah.
And then you climb just past that one, there's another home. So there was literally like 4 homes just stacked right on top of each other.
Wow.
And so and it was family, so there's a familial connection between all those.
Yeah.
And so literally, it's one of those things where if you're having an argument with a spouse, everybody around you, if your kid's crying or screaming, you're getting onto them or whatever, and so if you're the person at the top in the morning when you get up for work or do whatever, you're walking by your sister. And in this family, it was 2 sisters right there. So you're walking by your sister's little door in her space.
Okay.
And so in those spaces are literally like 15 by 15 or something, or 10 by 10. I mean, they're small.
Wow.
And so what we did, so right there were 3 houses right together. And we had 3 different crews break up. And what we did was we just each took a home. And we provided, seclusion to each of them.
Okay.
Because before, everything was more this open air concept.
Yeah.
And so they had a couple of stub walls between them. But what we did is we closed everything up.
Yeah.
So that way, now all of a sudden, that family has their secluded home area.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay. That's definitely a different dynamic than what we're used to here.
Yes, most definitely.
So, bathroom-wise, I remember in El Salvador, hole in the ground. Is that the same thing over here?
So no, I mean, there are some places like that,
Yeah.
but the places that we all worked at is no, each of them had, because the government has provided, while it's not great, they
Yeah.
have provided water and waste lines.
Yeah.
And so from the main sidewalk or road, depending upon where you're at, you do have access to be able to dig your own trench line and everything.
Okay.
And if you can get your hands on plumbing materials, then you can tap into where the main line is at.
Gotcha.
And so that way you can have water to your place, or you can have waste to your place as well.
Okay.
And so usually the water and the waste connections are kind of the last thing.
Yeah.
Because you can always, for most of these people, they're building next to family.
Okay.
And so they're just going to go over to mom and dad's or sisters or whoever's and use those facilities until they have the finances to be able to build their own.
So the finances part of it, how do they, I mean, is it just them trying to pool their money together, working together to do that, or is it on the individual family?
I would say yes and no to all of it.
Yeah.
So like the family that we built that first house for, is they had just been saving. I didn't wear it this morning, but they gave us bracelets. But they sell, their main source of income is they sell bracelets. And
Okay.
she goes down into the market every day to sell them.
Oh, wow.
And so that's their main source of income. And the husband, I can't remember exactly what he does. He does something else as well. But together, their main source of income is these bracelets.
Okay.
And they have Christian messages on them. So all that being said, is they're saving their money up. I mean, and they're living. It was, I don't know, man. It was so humbling to see the little that they have and the little that they need, and to be surviving so well off of so little.
Yeah.
And they're saving up, the land that they bought was like $15,000 in American. And I kid you not, this piece of land they bought, their house is 10 by 20. Their land was 20 by like 40, by 30.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and there's this plot, and I thought whenever we were building the house, I thought they had bought all 3 lots. Mm-hmm. But no, there was a lot to the other side of them, and a lot on the other side, and then on the other side. So there was an empty lot, their lot, an empty lot, and then their mom and dad's lot.
Okay.
And I thought they had bought the whole thing. Well, no, it was just their lot of roughly 20 by 30.
Yeah.
That was all they had, and they paid $15,000 American for that. And they're paying it off over time, so they're able to finance it. And I don't know exactly how that works, but they were able to buy it from somebody, and they're financing it. But it's crazy how much money they're having to pay for that little bit.
Yeah.
And then they've got to put a house and everything on top of it.
The house, though, was a donation
Yes.
from the church. Okay. And so this is the local church. Do they attend, or they just heard about the family?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So all the families that we help are connected with the church. Or there's this year there were 3 different churches that we were connected with.
Okay.
And so we were able to help multiple families from those 3 different churches.
Wow.
And also do VBSs with 3 different churches.
Wow. Okay. It's interesting because a friend of mine is over at a mission trip in Honduras right now too.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
He's on a different one, which is a medical mission. Mm-hmm. So he's not medical. Those businesses, he does medical sales, but he's there with doctors, veterinarians, and nurses, and those folks are specifically looking at patients, seeing animals, and then he's there doing VBS. He's working the shop, the gift shop for the hospital. I think that's there too.
Okay.
But he said that that's the draw that comes in, and he does the door-to-door ministry that they have for evangelism. But the medical ministry brings in a ton of people, obviously, to go and help with medical care. And he said last year he went and they had 500 people that came to Christ during that week that they're there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, I guess I'm just putting it out there, for the people that are listening, that there's a lot of different flavors of mission trips that you can go on. Yours was building houses, sort of like the main purpose, right?
Yep.
But then every one of them has evangelism as a component of it.
Yeah.
And I've been on one where it was just evangelism. East West Ministries, I think, is who they were.
Yep.
And they focused just on going door to door, knocking, partnering with the local church to go and say, this is a local church that's here, but we're looking to see if you guys would want to come. And it's a great perspective. I think I've shared it with my church Bible group to go and say, if you've not been on a mission trip, it's a good way to kind of get out of your one perspective that you get just on a day-to-day basis. And I think when you in that walk where you're in your perspective, you unintentionally most of the time limit God in your head as to what he can do, because you're thinking of him in terms of what he's doing for me, what he's doing for my friends, which has this first world mentality.
Yeah.
And then you go into a third world country and it just kind of blows your paradigm, see how they're living and how is it that they're surviving and what's God doing there for them, right? Which is totally different than what you're experiencing here. I'm experiencing here.
Very true.
You've been listening to Financial Advisor and Pastor Walk Into a Bar. As always, Benjie and Jason raise more questions than answers because God has a message for you. And you're not going to hear it unless you open the Bible and read it for yourself. Thanks for listening.